folks never adjusted to the great big world. I see them lurking in bookstores, working for the public radio. Yeah, the babies around, the sack on their back, moving careful and slow. It's money that matters. Hear what I say. It's money that matters. In the USA.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Plutocracy Report, right here on PRN. I'm your host, Vince Marcanti, and I want to thank you for joining me on this historical 20th show. Now, I want this show to be a turning point in the history of human existence. A new dawn of humanity is upon us because of what I am going to expose and the solution I will soon suggest. Yes, so we have a really big show. Of course, I hope you all had a great week since last time we talked. From my side here, all I could say is the week really flew by. It's like I mark my weeks by garbage day. You know, every Wednesday I got to take out the garbage, and it seems like 3 days pass, but a whole freaking week passed. And I don't know why things are just going by so fast lately. Maybe because it's a summer, and the summer always flies by. We're already in August. Wow. Already mid-August. Wow. Well, let's get on with the show, and I will quit complaining about the passing of time. All right, first let's look at what allows nations and societies to do such bad things and continue the insanity and inhumanity without change. Now, I alluded to fear being the control mechanism for our culture. And that was a few weeks ago, but I probably didn't express just how it affects our beliefs and actions. Fear has direct cause and effect, and the accepted actions taken upon people's fears is what the plutocrats use with mastery and perfection. There are so many examples I could mention, but let's take 9/11 because it's the biggest example. And by the way, I'm planning on having a special 9/11 show next month. I mean, it's done, and we can't change the past. But it would be nice if the sheepies understand the official story is completely BS and realize what the motive behind it really was. I think that's important still to this day. Anyways, after 9/11, people were afraid of brown terrorists, and we were able to start 2 wars and a homeland security complex from hell without public outrage or even resistance. Now, as the fear decreased, even some righty sheep are against more war. Even some of the righties who were afraid of gays getting married because this country would turn into Sodom and Gomorrah and the Lord would burn us to death. Oh, crap. Maybe they're right and the California fires aren't from energy weapons. It's God punishing us for letting gay people get married. But, you know, as time went on, some of them realized letting gay people get married didn't affect them, and the fear level dropped. Obama took credit for his pro-gay agenda, but it's always about business. Gay weddings help the economy, you know. Nothing in a plutocracy is done out of kindness, including women's rights. I mean, the banks funded the women's liberation movement so they can get women spending on credit just like men. That's how they see gender equality, you know, equal exploitation. Well, what we see now is cooking up the fear of immigration, and that's being pushed by the propagandists. Unlike when Ronald Reagan made it sound so great, and Republican business owners got cheap labor and hence more richer. Liberals fear Russian election interference, but have no concern of the real issue of Zionist election interference. So both the lefties and righties are controlled by fear and lies, but perhaps more so for Republicans, because brain imaging shows these nutty people have larger fear centers in the amygdala. Now let me define that for you. The amygdala is one of 2 almond-shaped groups of nuclei located deep within the temporal lobes. of the brain in humans and other complex vertebrates, shown in research to perform a primary role in the processing of memory, decision-making, and emotional responses, including fear, anxiety, and aggression. So, of course, the scientists who served the plutocrats told them all about the amygdala and how to influence it in the processing of information and propaganda. So, pertaining to the fight or flight response, people who identify with the Republican sheep herd may have theirs triggered faster and be more hypersensitive to threats, whether they be real or made up, or born from conspiracy like 9/11. This is great for plutocrats to know, and it makes a rush to judgment seem rational to half the sheepies anyways. Now, in order for the people to continue to support politicians who serve the plutocrats and are Republican, you must keep them in constant fear. Because, let's face it, there is nothing socially good they can offer the common American other than pretend protection from non-existent enemies. So, that is why their platform is rooted in fear. Currently, it's fear of immigrants, fear of gun control liberals, and as always, fear of social change. Now, I have read that history shows us that overly fearful societies either freeze in time or self-destruct. Well, it's abundantly clear that we are frozen in time in every way, but that is also on purpose for technological and social stagnation to continue the status quo money flow to the most powerful plutocrats on earth. However, fear can be considered the root cause to our near-term self-destruction because we're afraid to take back our government and make sane and humane changes, simply because people are afraid the transition may be difficult. So, in essence, fear is what is holding us back. Both the lefty and righty sheep are afraid of taking action that may be difficult. Just leave us alone with our delusions and our distractions, and we'll just see how this all plays out. But I don't want to be bothered now. I think we can change that prevailing attitude, and perhaps unfolding events can help us motivate the sheepies to fight back. This is also why I spend a lot of time pointing out the lies going on out there. I believe it is essential for people to wake up to reality before they can understand what needs to change and why. Even our perceptions need to reflect rationality. Therefore, they need to change immediately. Oh, I got an example for that. Now, I was working on a job site, and all the workers have these huge Ford and Chevy pickup trucks, and one guy said, I overheard it from across the room, "Who's got that sky blue hybrid out there?" And someone said, "Oh, that's Vince the painter that drives that thing." And the guy laughed and said, "What a fag." They love huge trucks and loud, unnecessary, powerful, gas-guzzling engines, and they identify that with manliness. Let's call it toxic masculinity. Perhaps it's unavoidable to a certain extent, but what if it is contributing to destroying the suitable atmosphere for humans? There is a sentiment among infantile men, which is quite a bit of them, that believes eco-friendly behavior is feminine, sissy crap. As if it has less to do with the environment and more to do with gender roles. As reported on this show, Ford is only making huge vehicles, and the Mustang is the only car they will make from now on. When these people drive, they are in full acceleration or full braking at all times. They never even coast, and they care not for nature. It's just there to hunt or kill or dominate or amuse them because they don't know they're part of it. And I don't think they want to know that right now, but we need to change that attitude. Now, if many men don't even want to talk about climate change because it's sissy tree-hugging bullcrap, then their belief system shapes their reality. This is something we need to address and change because we are seeing an unprecedented level of denialism in America. I mean, haven't you noticed it? I certainly have. People still deny we live in a plutocracy, or actually they don't even know what plutocracy means, you know. But they think we're in a democracy because they can still vote. Well, some people anyways, some are not allowed to vote. And some deserve more voting power, like super delegates. Jeez, that is so obscene, that whole system. You call that democracy? Freaking Democrats, wake the hell up. Why can't they see reality? Like last week, I talked about climate change deniers who say the government creates hurricanes and uses non-existent energy weapons to incinerate people's homes for Agenda 21. That, I guess, is a plan for slow death to all of us, one house and hurricane at a time. Well, some guy posted a global warming story, and his comments were dominated by deniers who believe chemtrails is the only reason the weather is a little bit weird, and laser beams from the sky made all the fire and zapped all the cars and animals and homes, and now they even say the energy beams are invisible, to counter my point that no one witnessed them. Then they post a video of lightning striking a car, and they say it was a laser beam. I'm not kidding. Now, maybe you're getting tired of me talking about these nuts, and I'm going to try to stop after this. But I think this is important because we need more people to see reality before a grassroots movement can be effective by understanding what's wrong with our society. If people are delusional, they don't know what needs to change, and nothing ever will change. We can't have a revolt with confused and misinformed people who don't know what's real and what's fake. Anyways, I want to read the replies that they gave to me, because I was trying to knock some sense into them. And I got to admit, I'm not so friendly at doing it. I can use some harsh words, and I think maybe I should change that. My attitude was, well, these people are mean, so I need to be mean back to them. But I don't think I'm convincing anyone. I'm just making them more upset and cling to their beliefs even stronger. So I'm going to try a different approach next time. But anyways, this is what they were saying. There is no climate change. However, there is greedy global elitists that get paid to rebuild nations after they destroy them through weather warfare. Halliburton. Here's another. Chemtrails are desiccating the air and killing trees from the top down. HARP is driving rain out of California, then water gets rationed except for corporations like Nestle. Here's another. The new advertised military laser weapons are hitting homes and other structures and melting them, leaving trees untouched. Okay, well, that second one has a little bit of truth to it. But, a lot of these crazy, nutty theories come from a real issue, and they just take it in a kooky direction. Of course, because they need to reinforce their beliefs of man-made global warming is not real because, the liberals think it is. All right, well, then after those three, they attacked me. Here's what one guy said. You're a real mental case. If you don't realize you're talking shite, that's because you're a complete mouthpiece troll. He thinks I'm the one talking shite with my rationality. Then the same guy said, You're a Zionist, aren't you? Tell us whether or not you support Israel, and I will explain everything. I can almost guarantee you support Zionism by the way you talk online. So I explained that both anthropogenic climate change and geoengineering is real and why. And it was very rational. And they said to me, You really like this kind of attention, don't you, mental case? Otherwise, you wouldn't be running around leaving them long-winded, ridiculous comments proving your ignorance. Just keep talking crap, troll. You're only making yourself look like a mouthpiece with every comment. You're nothing but a goof talking shite online. Okay. Then he posted about a dozen anti-Jew memes because I must be an Italian Zionist for disagreeing with it. All right. Well, at least I get some amusement out of it. Maybe he is actually a disinformation troll because these guys never mention a need to unite and overthrow the government. They also hate, Jews, but they don't hate them for their appalling treatment of Palestinians. They never mention that. There's never any sense of compassion or humanity into anything they say. It's just all about this Agenda 21 and the government coming to kill us, and they don't even suggest fighting it or doing anything about it, ever. So, I don't know. It's very strange, and I think it is a purposeful campaign of disinformation. The more confused the sheepies are, the easier they are to control, and the more docile, even when they have these kooky conspiracy theories that aren't true. All right, now I also saw articles that feed these fools their beliefs, and they always take a real issue and turn it into a nutty fabrication that changes the meaning and point of everything. And just about all of the articles were goofy and not worth mentioning, from the coming Zionist Antichrist to laser weapons hitting random cars in the road. But there was one that contained facts along with its disinformation, and it was from a site called the Millennial Report, and it said geoengineering is finally admitted by the government. Now, I don't know if that's true. I doubt it. But it truthfully explained what is being sprayed and how it is meant to reflect sunlight. And they also said that the government is lying about it and has been, and that's also true. But then they say geoengineering is the primary cause of global climate change, not CO2. This is big for them. They think the more CO2, the better. There's just no problem with CO2. And I guess completely altering the chemical makeup of our atmosphere is just fine. Anyways, it is true that geoengineering is a terrible idea and making things exponentially worse, but there are a plethora of things we are doing and have done that is destroying our atmosphere, oceans, and the habitat. But they simply deny or ignore all that stuff because they have to believe global warming is a hoax. Because Al Gore said it's true. Now, here is the question that is perhaps more important now than ever before. What do we do about real disinformation? Should it be censored? And if so, who gets to choose what is fake and what isn't? Now, I make fun of Alex Jones for spreading and profiting off of disinformation. And did you hear what just happened on August 5th? Facebook, Apple, YouTube, and Spotify ban Alex Jones's InfoWars. Following that suspension, a Facebook spokesman said, "More content from the same page has been reported to us. Upon review, we have taken it down for glorifying violence, which violates our graphic violence policy, and using dehumanizing language to describe people who are transgender, Muslim, and immigrants, which violates our hate speech policy." Yeah, that's true. That's what the scaremongering has been going on about. There's all this hate for trannies and Muslims and immigrants. So, that fool plays into that crap just like he's supposed to. Now, the spokesman noted that despite the focus on Jones's role in spreading conspiracy theories around events such as 9/11 attacks and Sandy Hook school shooting, none of the violations that spurred today's removals were related to this. So I guess Pizzagate and chemicals to make us gay is okay to lie about. Just no hate speech, I guess. Okay, well, I don't like hate speech, and I don't like censorship either, even if it's a slimy disinformation profiteer getting censored. I suggest no censorship, but we should be linking tags to every political site that offers another side to the story. People should be able to make up their own minds, but they should also have to get both sides of the story. And hopefully one side is from an unbiased source that deals in proven facts only. I mean, that is a right to all people, the right to truth. And, of course, that is not in the interest of the plutocrats and their god-darn control structure. Disinformation prevents even the people who want to change our government separated, misinformed, and confused. Now, the subject of geoengineering is perhaps the most important and also the most misunderstood. I will talk about censorship a little more in the second half of the show, but let me keep going on this, because lefties think geoengineering is crazy conspiracy stuff, just as nutty as laser beams from the sky, and say it's just natural condensation trails, and the government would never lie to us. They're the ones who said, don't worry, it's just condensation. And what pisses me off the most is that they think I'm one of these Agenda 21 freaks if I try to explain solar radiation management to them. And all the righties think chemtrails is all that's wrong with the climate or some other crazy crap. But to the plutocrats, as long as we are misinformed and biased, we will never get nowhere. And that's how they want it. Now, I don't want to seem like I think I'm smarter than most people, because that should be apparent. But I am certain that I am unbiased in research and use rationality in deciding what's real and what isn't. Like looking for a reasonable motive behind allegations. Do people even do that anymore? The righties certainly don't. Some of these crazy theories have nonsensical motives and never address one at all. Okay, are you ready for my announcement of this historical 20th show? Here it comes. Let's continue to be rational, and let's create a new movement and a new party and take back our governance. Nobody else is going to save us, not Bernie or Ron Paul. We need to do it ourselves. We need a name for our new party. Now, I was thinking the Rationalist Party, but the idiotic Republicans already own the R prefix, so I don't know if that's the best choice, but let me know if anyone else has any ideas out there. You know how to contact me, Facebook or the Plutocracy Report at gmail.com. And let's start a new party. I've decided that's the only thing we can do right now. It's something we need to do. I mean, we need a new party based on rationalism and compassion for humanity and the biosphere. And if we are able to present our grievances and solutions on a large platform, like in debate with the repugnant Republicans and the deceitful Democrats, we will have the majority on our side for sure. So let's get to work, my friends. We can do this. Let's start a new freaking party. Screw you, Green Party. You didn't do anything for us. I'm sorry. At least they tried, but they're nothing but losers. I was really behind them when Ralph Nader ran as a Green, but they just didn't have the impact. We need one that's really going to take charge and really get the message out, the right message. I like Jill Stein, and I loved her idea of a peace offensive, but nobody listened. Nobody cared. Did she even get 1%? No. I mean, we can't just sit back and do things by the book. We have to demand, and we have to make our voices heard. There's no shutting us down when we have a lot of people motivated. And I believe if we do this right and message right, we can unite both sheep herds. The right and the left will come together on the right issues. All right, moving on for now. We'll get back to that in upcoming shows because this is going to be ongoing. I want to start a whole new freaking party. All right, but now I want to talk about what we can expect from plutocrats if we don't end their reign of terror soon. Now, first think of what plutocrats could do if they had any empathy whatsoever. They could buy up dilapidated communities where crime and violence and poverty prevail and de-ghettoize by investing in the community and improving housing and bringing in good jobs in fields that benefit the community, like hydroponics and eco-friendly manufacturing, and feeding hungry people better and locally grown food, etc. There's so many things you could do to benefit your community and humanity. If you were hoarding billions of dollars that you don't need, you're able to do these things, but they never do. Well, as I explained, plutocrats are insane and inhumane to the bone. No exceptions. Warren Buffett and Elon Musk, they're just as bad. Don't be fooled. Just wanting to hoard all that money is a mental sickness, and their actions, like impoverishing and exploiting their employees, is inhumane. So you can't disagree with me. It's obvious and unequivocal. Instead of ever truly helping people with their billions they're hoarding, they only want to keep things the way they are because all they want is more. And they're not threatened for their immoral money hoarding. In fact, they're worshipped and admired by people for some irrational reason through this culture that taught them that. I mean, listen to what they do with their obscene amounts of money. Now, months ago I told you Jeff Bezos, the so-called richest man in the world, was asked what he will do with his $140 billion fortune. And you know what this slimy human worm said? The only way I can see to deploy this much financial resource is by converting my Amazon winnings into space travel. I'm going to use my financial lottery winnings from Amazon to fund that. Bezos plans to spend his fortune, the largest wealth in the world, on space travel through Blue Origin, which he calls his most important project. I get increasing conviction with every passing year that Blue Origin, the space company, is the most important work that I'm doing. And so there is a whole plan for Blue Origin. That is basically it. Blue Origin is expensive enough to be able to use that fortune. Wow. I am liquidating about $1 billion a year from Amazon stock to fund Blue Origin, and I plan to continue to do that for a long time, Bezos said. I am very lucky that I feel like I have a mission-driven purpose with Blue Origin that is, I think, incredibly important for civilization long-term. You delusional son of a psychopath. Whew. Okay, this guy really upsets me. I mean, this sick SOB can't think of a better way to spend his money than on useless space travel with stagnated technology that'll get you nowhere. As I said, I hope he shoots himself into space and never comes back, because this guy never wanted to help anyone in need of help or improve our society in any way. You know, he can't even help his low-wage Amazon employees, some of whom can't afford food and shelter on an ongoing basis. Does he treat his employees at the Washington Post toilet paper fairly? Well, he must. I mean, he abuses his Amazon employees, but he's got to do something good for Washington Post employees. Well, let's see. Here's something. Washington Post employees are revolting over shocking pay practices at the newspaper as they petition Amazon CEO and WAPO owner Jeff Bezos to share the wealth, of which today stands at $140 billion. We live in a society where a heartless worm can rake in all that money and not use a dime of it for doing something good. Now, there's other worms like who's that little weasel from Facebook? Can't remember his name. Zuckerberg, and that madman from Microsoft, Bill Gates. You know, they pretend they're good people and they give to charity. But charity and plutocratic philanthropy is a scam to make our system of capitalism for the poor and socialism for the rich not seem so bad. And even, theoretically, if they did give money to a good cause and every plutocrat used their wealth to actually help people in need, the money flow would need to be properly and wisely distributed to be effective. You can't leave them to do it on their own because they're nothing but snakes. I mean, like Bill Gates, he may buy some starving Africans Nike shoes and give them some of Merck's dangerous polio vaccines, which he owns some of their stocks, tons of their stocks. But plutocratic philanthropy never changes anything. It just makes us accept poverty more easily. I mean, you give a guy a cheeseburger when he needs a home. Charity is a scam that ensures no injustice and inequality will ever be solved, only perpetuated. And it's a scam. It's a scam within a scam, like the Clinton Foundation, where they actually steal money from it. Now, working class people can be very kind and compassionate and send their hard-earned money to charities that they think will help people in need, and it makes them feel good. Helping people always makes you feel good if you're not a sociopath. But most of the money that is being used to run organizations that are supposed to be charitable don't really help people much. The March of Dimes takes a dime out of every dollar to use to help, if they even do help anything. I mean, we may send some bottled water to Africa or some free rice, but that's not how to fix a situation. Let's be smart about it, because what they need is solar panels for free electricity and deep wells and hydroponic vertical farming facilities and schools and care clinics and so on. Bezos could build a desalination plant in Cape Town if he wanted to. Now, that would be lasting and meaningful good he could do before he freaking croaks. But he wants to build a space rocket because it's neat, and he thought about it when he was 5 years old. These sick people need emotional and mental help and should be placed in a mental institution before they can wreak havoc on society anymore. As I always say, anyone who thinks they deserve to hoard billions of dollars is mentally ill. And there's no exceptions, so don't tell me you kind of like Warren Buffett or Elon Musk. They're good billionaires. They are worms. They just act like they have a heart. Or more precisely, they are frauds. Musk has been in business since 2002. His stated goal is nothing short of transforming humanity through his products, his electric cars, space travel, and an underground high-speed Hyperloop system. He has yet to succeed at anything, but somehow spins every failure into proof of imminent success. His only accomplishment has been this decades-long Jedi mind trick. Yeah, well, he never fooled me, because the Jedi mind trick doesn't work on non-sheepies. Billionaires are heartless rodents who may care about public perception because they are narcissistic, but they don't care about the public's well-being or truly helping to change the inequality of society because they like things the way they are. They have only one thing in the world they love. What is it? What is it they love? There's one thing, and what is it? Tell me, Randy Newman. Roll it, Vin.
Don't love the mountains, I don't love the sea, I don't love Jesus. He never done a thing for me. I ain't pretty like my sister, smart like my dad, but good like my mama. There's money that I love. There's money that I love. They say that money can't buy love in this world. You get your half pound of cocaine, the on a hot September night. Now that may not be love, but it is alright. 1, 2, it's money without love. 1, kiss you. 3, 4, it's money without love. Used to worry about the poor, but I don't worry anymore. Used to worry about the black man, now I don't worry about the black man. Used to worry about the starving children of India. You know what I say now about the starving children of India? I say, oh mama, it's money without love. 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 It's money without love.
Hell yeah. Tell us the truth, Randy. You know, I heard someone said that he was thinking about Gene Simmons from Kiss when he wrote that. And I noticed that there's that one verse in there that makes sense that he might be talking about him. And if you ever listen to Gene Simmons, he is a greedy SOB, and he's proud of it. He doesn't hide his greediness. But, I know some people don't like Randy Newman, and Family Guy and South Park made fun of him, and it was kind of funny. But outside of his movie music, his songs are very non-commercial, and some of them are pretty good. And I love how satirical he can be. So say what you want about him, but I like him, and I hope you like the musical segment this week. Now, my friends, we all know a cabal of rich people rule the world and play us for fools because even when we become outraged and demand tiny incremental change, nothing ever does change. We have to take over and get the sociopathic, mentally ill people out of the control of our governments. Let's look at what happens when a nation thinks it has dealt a tiny incremental blow to the bankers' control. The Brits went against the advice of the plutocrats and their puppet politicians like Obama and the weaselly David Cameron, and they voted to leave the EU, and I was proud of them for slapping the face of the EU banker pigs. Well, you know how slow politics is, and not only did it not happen yet, but it isn't supposed to happen until March 2019. But maybe it'll never happen, because as we know, plutocrats are babies and hate to lose. A good example is Syria. You lost, you war plutocrats. Leave these people alone for Christ's sake. Yeah, like that'll happen. Well, this was July 14th. British Prime Minister Theresa May warned her divided party on Sunday that there may be no Brexit at all if they wrecked her plan to forge a close relationship with the EU after leaving the world's biggest trading bloc. Yeah, we want a close, cozy relationship, so it looks like we never even left. My message to the country this weekend is simple. We need to keep our eyes on the prize, May wrote on Facebook. If we don't, we risk ending up with no Brexit at all. Oh, you would just hate that, wouldn't you? Linking the fate of Brexit to her own survival in such an explicit way indicates just how precarious May's position remains after her government was thrust into crisis and U.S. President Donald Trump publicly criticized her Brexit strategy. The political elite and business leaders are still deeply divided over what form Brexit should take. Now, listen closely here. The British government has also stepped up planning for a so-called no-deal Brexit that could spook financial markets and dislocate trade flows across Europe and beyond. May has repeatedly said Brexit will happen and has ruled out a rerun of the 2016 referendum, although French President Emmanuel Macron and billionaire investor George Soros has suggested that Britain could still change its mind. Yeah, see if you can interfere there, Georgie boy. Or better yet, just F off and die, you sociopathic demon. So basically, they want to make a deal where they act like they pull out of the EU just to please the voters, but keep going with things pretty much the same, just pretending it's different now. And no deal means, screw the EU, we don't want to deal with those scam artists. This is what the rulers want to avoid, so the scaremongering has begun. And July 29th, they said this. Army on standby for no-deal Brexit emergency. Ministers have drew up plans to send in the army to deliver food, medicines, and fuel in the event of shortages if Britain crashes out of the EU without a deal. Blueprints for the armed forces to assist the civilian authorities, usually used only in civil emergencies, have been dusted down as part of the no-deal planning. So basically, the message is, it would be a nightmare if you don't let the plutocrats decide your fate. So fall in line, limey sheepies. Well, we shall see how this all plays out. I really wish the Swiss would have voted for that referendum of who controls the money supply and took the power away from their banking plutocrats, because that really would have been a shot at the bankers. And, you know, instead, we're not really seeing any resistance to them. Now, we need to threaten them and end their power, but it seems we are not ready to face the transition period. You know, we're still too fearful, and we need to reach the F-it point. My first shot is to tell everyone that I can to get out of the big banks and move your money to currency exchanges immediately. But, you know, I can't even convince family and friends to do it. But I'll bet intelligent and aware people who listen to this show will and help spread the word. This is something we can do to make them feel our disapproval by boycotting them while we build up our new party. There are many ways to take action, and let's get to it. All right, I'm going to move on because I want to mention something that I'm going to connect to what I told you earlier about Alex Jones getting banned by Facebook. This may start to look like they are out to get only right-wing kooks, but there is so much more going on and a much darker side because they banned a left-wing site that did nothing wrong, only to say things our government doesn't want us to hear. All right, here is the story reported by RT. Telesur English, a multi-state funded Latin American news network, says that Facebook has removed its page for the second time this year without any specific reason being provided. Telesur claims it was abruptly taken offline on Monday. Facebook provided the vague explanation that the page had violated its terms of use, but did not elaborate further. This is an alarming development in light of the recent shutting down of pages that don't fit a mainstream narrative, the network declared. While it's unclear whether there is any connection, journalist Max Blumenthal has called it deeply disturbing that the removal comes from after Facebook partnered up with the Digital Forensic Lab, an offshoot of the Atlantic Council, a neoliberal think tank set up in 1961 to promote Western ideology around the world. Telesur is based in Venezuela and gets most of its funding from the Venezuelan government. It also receives funding from the governments of Cuba, Nicaragua, Uruguay, and Bolivia. Telesur's supporters and free speech advocates argue that the network gives viewers access to viewpoints from outside of the mainstream, and it has been defended by journalists, activists, and academics, including Noam Chomsky and John Pilger. I like him. And Danny Glover. Huh? Is it the actor? I don't know. The network has broadcast worldwide in Spanish since 2005 and in English since 2014. Its now vanished Facebook page has almost 400,000 likes. And so it begins. You know, this is the proof. I mean, the banning of kooky right-wing fools like Alex Jones, I think, is simply a cover while they make real and rational alternative views and information that goes against the plutocrats' narrative silenced in America. And I'm very concerned about this. I mean, it's happening. We're seeing it played out. And even a great source for alternative information like PRN and the Plutocracy Report could be deemed as fake news that, you know, we love Russia or some stupid crap that some dummycrats might fall for. Because, let's face it, some sheepies believe whatever they are told by the real fake news, which is the mainstream CIA media. It's time to make a stand against this campaign of controlling all media for the interest of the plutocrats. You know, it's just hard to defend hateful right-wing rats like Alex Jones, but there are some okay right-wing ones like Ron Paul, and they are also getting attacked and silenced. So we must defend against all forms of censorship. Okay, let me try to do a few more things here before I play the only audio clip of the show today. This is from the Daily Beast. The coming worm apocalypse should terrify you. Worms may not be warm and fuzzy, but their essential role in many ecosystems across this planet makes them canaries in the agricultural coal mine. You can't avoid the zombie apocalypse in a popular culture, but you may not have heard about the real one going on right beneath your feet. A worm apocalypse has been transforming farmland around the world. Well, why should you care? If you dreamed up plots to quietly undermine civilization, few could be more diabolical than destroying its foundation, the soil life that builds the fertility of the farmland we depend on to grow our food. Still, it's safe to say that most of us missed the recent study in the journal Soil Systems that lays out the case for worldwide decimation of earthworms. Yet this new report offers a stark assessment of the health of Earth's agricultural soils, and that should concern us all. The study reviewed global evidence of loss of earthworms under modern conventional farming, long-term farming trails, some that have run over 170 years, consistently found losses of 50% to 100% of worm biomass, with an average loss of more than 80%. In other words, modern farming practices has killed off 4 out of 5 worms that once lived on farms. Farmers around the world have been turning verdant fields into subterranean desert. This matters because recent scientific advances has shown how soil life partners with plants through the original underground economy. For example, plants we now know push sugary exudates out of their roots for microbes to lap up like dogs at breakfast. They do not do this for free. The plants get something in return. Soil microbes consume and convert the exudates into metabolites that benefit the growth of health and their botanical hosts. And no less than Charles Darwin recognized the importance of worms mixing organic matter into fertile soil. He called worms God's plowmen and spent his whole career studying them. But his first scientific paper and his last lifetime best-selling book addressed the importance of lowly worms in keeping soils fertile. So just what's been killing off the worms? The new study blames plowing, the intensive use of chemical fertilizers that deplete soil organic matter. In other words, practices that, from the backbone of modern conventional agriculture, destroy worm food and decimate soil life. In the U.S. and around the world, soil organic matter levels are roughly half of their historical levels before the advent of modern agriculture. That's nice, huh? You know, how we don't consider sustainability or the importance and complete lack of common sense agriculture. I thought that was interesting to consider. So now when I talk about the need to invest in vertical hydroponic farming, you'll understand the importance of freeing up our technological system and advancing and preparing for the future. All right, real quick, here are a few headlines about our future as we enter the age of Radiation Man. 7 years later, Fukushima radiation levels spiking to lethal levels. Some 7 years after the disaster at Fukushima, there is a new crisis at Fukushima, and TEPCO, the energy company responsible for the failed nuclear plant, has issued a statement warning of lethal levels of radiation now detected at the plant. Wow, didn't see that coming, huh? Well, yeah, because no one talks about it in the propaganda news. This is related. California wine found to be contaminated with radioactive Fukushima particles. It was reported a couple years ago that glyphosate, the notorious herbicide peddled by Monsanto and the agrochemical giants of the world, was found in most California wines. Now, something arguably even worse has been found in California wine. Radioactive cesium, which is from the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan. All right, here's one good news headline. Bayer shares plunge by $12.5 billion after Monsanto court case. Well, you can read that story at Natural Blaze, but the headline's good enough for me right now. Okay, my friends, I want us all to take a deep breath and remember something. I can rant about doing our duty of taking back our government, but it seems like it's always something in the future, that we may get to someday. But what is really important? Well, what really matters is that we remember we are here now. Now, the fight has begun, and we will continue to fight the plutocrats. And we are the ones who need to inform, awaken, and inspire others. But we can also get lost in distractions and the never-ending drudgery to make enough money to survive. And sometimes I think I'll start a job and I'm like, oh, okay, well, the next 3 days are going to suck while I try to crank out this job. But then, I'll have 2 days off and I'll try to enjoy that before I start another job. And, it just seems like life is always in the future. Just get enough money to get by and you'll enjoy it more someday. Well, Terence McKenna called this a dominator culture, and within it we can get lost and lose the importance of the moment. Everything changes and everything goes away eventually, and not every moment is going to be happy. And you know what? I have to admit, our dreams may never be achieved. But let's have the felt presence of experience, a part of every moment. And within that, we can find something that we need to feel and harmonize with. Love. That is what truly matters. Listen.
One thing that seems secure is a truth that is hard to hear in the context of a dominator culture with an obsession with the material world. And that truth is that nothing lasts. Nothing lasts. You know, your enemies will fade, your friends will fade, your fortune, your poverty, your disappointments, your dreams, everything is in the process of changing into something else. So your agony is about to be assuaged. On the other hand, your happiness is about to be destroyed. So the obligation that comes out of this realization is an obligation to the immediate moment, to this thing that I've been calling the felt moment of immediate experience. It isn't who you were or what you were or who you will be or what you will be. It's the felt moment of immediate experience. And this has been robbed from us by media and by our tendency to denigrate ourselves, to see the world in terms of the great ones, not here, whoever they are, Aristotle, Madonna, Jesus, whatever your particular bent is. The overcoming of neurosis, of unhappiness, of toxic lifestyles is the felt presence of immediate experience in the body, in the moment. And, you know, psychedelics, sexuality, gastronomy, sport, dance, these are the things which put you in the felt presence of the moment. And that's really all you ever possess. Your memories are eroding away. The futures you anticipate will mostly not come to pass, and the real richness is in the moment. And it's not necessarily some kind of be here now, feel good thing, because it doesn't always feel good, but it always feels. It is a domain of feeling. It's primary. Language is not primary. Ideology is not primary. The propagation of future and past vectors is not primary. What's primary is the felt presence of experience, and that is the source of love.
Well, my friends, let's feel that source of love. Let's be in the moment. Let's continue the fight. But don't forget, we're here for a limited time. Let's make the most of every moment and live within it. And I want to thank you for joining me on the Plutocracy Report this week, and we will speak again soon. It's an honor to have you along. I'm Vince Marcanti. Until next time, bye-bye.
Every time it rains, I sit at home and wonder why. Ever since you said goodbye, felt so all alone. Every time it rains, summer showers soak the ground. I watch the rain come pouring down, and I call out your name. Every time it rains, I hang my head and wanna die. And I don't seem to care that I just not making it on my own. Every time it rains, sometimes late at night I close my eyes, pretend that you're here with me. Every time it rains, I realize just how lonely my life gonna be. Every time it rains, every time I hear the raindrops fall, I may say that I don't mind it at all, but I do. time it rains, every time I try to tell myself that in time I'll find somebody else, won't be you. Every time it rains, every time it rains.